Hi everyone, welcome back to this Thursday live stream, and we are on episode 4 of this live stream on Thursdays. And I just want to thank everyone for joining me tonight. I do have a slight cough, so if you see me move to one side out of the camera, I'm just having a coughing fit. We are going to continue tonight with the live stream of a creature sculpt inside of ZBrush. We are working on the orc bust from last Thursday, and we're hoping to get this thing done soon so we can take it into Photoshop and I can show you how to do some of the compositing work. First things first, can everybody hear me okay? Am I coming through on the microphone all right? Just let me know with a thumbs up. That'd be great. I am using ZBrush license 2022.0.7 for this model, and if you haven't already, I'm just going to do a little bit of plugging here. This is a chilled live stream, so we're just going to you can ask me some questions. I'll talk you through how I'm sculpting the orc at the same time for the next hour. But I just want to let you all know that I have memberships on my YouTube channel. So if you want, you become a member, and you can watch all the previous archives leading up to this one that we have now, as well as the dragon tutorial from Mondays, as well as the long, very long live streams that I'm now going to be putting up every other Tuesday of my past projects. And I'll talk to you a bit more about that a little later on tonight. But you can become a member, a YouTube member, and get that as well as my Patreons. They will also get the exclusivity of those. So yeah, if you want, you can become a patron. If you can't, become a member on YouTube. And there's more exclusive tutorials, brushes, models, stuff like that on there for you. And one last thing, I do have an online store. One second. So if you go on there, you can grab all the tutorials that I have. They're very much in line with beginners and experienced artists, so it caters to everyone, as well as brushes. There's tons on there, and other videos as well. Cool. So with that shameless plugin that I just put in, let's jump back into ZBrush. So last time we finished off by adding the light torso, because I wanted to sort of expand the model out a bit more. And so I added a bit of a torso there. It just gives it a bit more character, and it cuts it off at a nice point where we can sort of do some compositing in Photoshop. Before I forget, I'm going to put some music on because we forgot that last time. Hope that's all right. You let me know if it's too loud in the comment section. Oh god, that is a bit too loud. Hold on. There we are. Right. So, first of all, is everybody okay in the chat? Give me a nice thumbs up before I carry on. I'm not sure how many more other people are going to join, but I'll just replay what I just said a minute ago. We're working on this orc bust from previous Thursday streams, and we're just going to continue the sculpting of this character. And first thing I want to do is come into the subtool section and drag the body or the chest piece that we created, which is this piece. And I'm just going to merge this down onto the head, or the head down onto the body. Just merge down. Hit OK. And these two pieces are still separate pieces until you Dynamesh again. So if you get to a point where you've accidentally merged down your model, but you want to split it again, you can isolate the one part, split it down here, so it's split hidden, and then you've got two pieces back again. That's just a good little tip. Before you even Dynamesh, just make sure that you're 100% happy with, the models that you're merging together. So I'm just going to merge that back down again because I like that anyway. Here we are. And I'm just going to come over to here, and looking at the polygon count, it's around 600,000. So actually, I might just drop this resolution down to 272, and then retopo it again, or dynamesh it again. This just keeps it a nice even number, for the polygons. I don't want to go over 1 million, because then you're getting into very high detailed work, basically. Just 1 second. So I got a question here from MF3D. Where are you from, mate? I am originally from South Africa. I was born in South Africa, but then I moved to England when I was about 8 years old. So yeah, been living here since then. So, by the way, where are you guys from? And what are your sort of positions in the industry? Are you still a student, or are you a artist that works in the industry? I really, let everyone know yourselves, if you don't mind answering. All right, so I'm just gonna, once I've merged it all together, I'm just gonna start to clean up these areas where they merge together, just very lightly with a clay build-up brush. Just come in here and just clean these areas up. Because we kept the dynamesh so high, we've also retained a lot of that noisiness with the clay buildup. And I know a lot of people would think, ooh, skin isn't that noisy, but I realize that, but it actually gives us a nice sort of feel for our model, because a lot of people will, just come in and smooth everything out like that. And it's very, very bad to do that. The smooth brush should never be used for anything more than just to pull away or to undo a mistake, really, at this stage of it. So MF3D says, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and yeah, I already work in an industry and I really like your work. Oh, thank you very much. What kind of studio are you working in? And is it game or film? It'd be great to know. So just gonna clean up these areas, these really bad areas, and then we're just gonna see, we got a line through here, and that's not typical. When you see your shoulder, it's not a typical line there. So I'm just going to build up this head of the shoulder. As I mentioned in previous tutorials and live streams, I'm not 100% sure of the names of these muscles. I just know where they sit on a character, and you don't really need to know every single name of every muscle. I think a lot of people get disdained or sort of afraid that they might say something wrong when they're sculpting, but you don't really need to know everything anatomy-wise, as long as you know the fundamentals and the shapes that they make, the sort of muscle shapes they make. Especially if you're a beginner. If you're a very, very experienced artist, probably best to get your naming terms right. But yeah, if you're just making this for fun, you don't have to worry about it too much. Cool. So just gonna clean this area a little bit more. I think the head itself is rather good, so I'm going to try not to tamper with it too much in the next few stages. Gonna clean this clavicle up here. Got one from Joseph here. Question from Joseph. Oops. Let me see. I would like to know how your ideas are coming. I mean, for example, the Birdman, just the idea came and you searched some similar ideas online, or just bird references that fit to your idea or model? Yeah, so that Birdman one, That was just me, you know, um, working very loosely. And also the reference I did use for the bird's head was from the God of War game. So in I think it's God of War 2, they've got those four-legged birds with a beak. They look like they have like lion bodies, but they have a beak on them. I don't know what they're called, but the face really looked cool. So I decided I was going to use that and use that in my reference as the head of the creature, and then the rest of it I just kind of made up as I went along. But yeah, most of the time I will find something that I like from someone else's work, or some inspiration from film or nature or anything like that, and I'll try to incorporate that into a creature design that I'm trying to create, because you can't really do it all off the top of your head. You have to have at least a little bit of reference to point to, so that it sort of grounds your work as well. So yeah, that's where I got the inspiration for that one. MF3D says he works in collectibles, game, and miniatures. Oh, okay, cool. That's cool. So is that like board games, or like the Warhammer or Dungeons Dragons sort of thing? Is that sort of thing? That's pretty cool. I want to get into miniature sculpting, but I think I just like detail too much and concepting, so I never really get time to actually make the models 3D printable. I do want to get back into that at some point. So here's to the future of that happening, hopefully. I'll just grab the dam standard. I'm just gonna cut here, because this muscle tendon should go underneath the armpit. I'm just gonna build up this shoulder muscle here, so that it looks like it's tucked more underneath there. Oops. There we are. Just use a little bit of smooth there. Just change the song quick. There we are. Cool. So I always get the question. I get questions a lot, like, how do you know when you're ready to move on from the sort of blockout stage and Dynamesh stage, and how do you know when enough is enough on your model? I guess it's a difficult question to answer, because you could go on forever just sculpting inside a Dynamesh, and that's where I predominantly use when I'm sculpting is Dynamesh. I like to keep the detailing stage till much later, because I get so involved in the creation side with the Dynamesh that I forget to actually move on from it. But yeah, at some point you just need to tell yourself stop and retopo. And once you start to retopo, then you know that you can't really go back anymore. That's why I like to stay inside of Dynamesh as much as possible. It's that freedom. Okay. So, keep moving that thing around. Going to be in my mind. And I quite like the idea of these orcs having some sort of clothing on them or armor. So in order to break up the symmetry that we have on this character, I think I might just add maybe something like this thing down here. I don't know if you can see it, like a shoulder pad that will come across the chest, and maybe just over the back here, just to break up that symmetry a bit more, and give it a bit of a more interesting silhouette. So we'll do that at some point once we finish the body. How's everybody doing, by the way? Has anybody got a question they'd like to ask? Or anything in particular they want to know about the work that I do, or how things work and stuff? Just add it in the comment section. Cool. Okay. We got one here from Tom Alderton. Keeps jumping in the comment section. 1 second. There we are. Hey dude, how's it going? Wondering if you're completely freelance or if you work for a studio at the moment. So I work for a studio at the moment. It's a VR studio in England. N-Dreams. I work for them, and I do this on the side just to help others sort of get more inspired to learn ZBrush. I did, like, for 4 years I've been doing a lot of time-lapse videos, and people were inspired by it, but they were never quite there was never quite the one-to-one like there is today with the live streaming. And I think doing this is much better for people because they get to see me do it in real time and work on a character and also ask questions. Freelance work, I have done a lot of freelance work in the past. I love doing book covers. Grab this one here quick. So now I'm gonna have to go this one. Oh yeah. So I don't know if you guys know this book cover. I worked on this a couple of years ago, and I've been working on the rest of the series as well. This is actually a first edition that they sent me after I worked on it, and it's even signed by the author, John Gwynn. That's pretty cool. Oops, it's pretty cool. And it's one of my shining glories. These book covers. You can probably check them out on my ArtStation. You can see a lot more. Those are the sort of things I enjoy sculpting and creating using ZBrush and Photoshop. 1 second. Here we are. Got one here from Zachariah, I believe. EL. Hello, Marcus. I want to ask, what made you get into 3D and ZBrush? Well, I was interested in 3D from a very young age. I think when I first saw the first Jurassic Park film, which was Jurassic Park in 1996. I might have been 6 years old, 7 years old at the time. And I just thought that looked really cool. And then, more 3D films came out and stuff like that. And then I was also inspired by Alien, even though I was scared as hell from it when it first came out. But then I started watching the making of Alien, and when you watch the making of Alien, you get to see the behind the scenes sort of things going on. And I just fell in love with the whole, Geiger artwork and all that sort of thing. And then the Lord of the Rings came along, and I did that. And then I thought to myself, I'll go to university and I'll become a game design artist or games artist, because they had a really good games design course. And then I changed after one day to the animation course instead, because the idea I had in my head was I want to do animations as well, and I like the idea of Wallace and Gromit, the claymations and stuff like that. And also Pixar was very big back then as well. I thought to myself, that would be really cool to get into that. Game design, when I first went in, it didn't really seem to fit well with me, so I decided to change to animation. Did 3 years in animation, got my bachelor in animation, And then after that, I found out how long animation takes to do, and it takes forever. To do just a few seconds of animation takes forever, and I needed to build a portfolio really quick. So I decided then and there to move on to 3D modeling. But I didn't start with ZBrush. It actually started with a program called Mudbox. We still use Mudbox today, obviously, but it was a offshoot of Autodesk Mudbox, trying to compete with ZBrush, I believe. And I did some work in Mudbox. It was really rubbish. I think I'll try and find some pictures of it later in my hard drive. I've still got one or two. It wasn't great, so I decided to jump onto ZBrush, and I used ZBrush, and I worked in ZBrush for 4 years, just learning by myself, and eventually I got a job in the games industry. So yeah, that's the beginning story of my life. So yeah, hope that helps. But yeah, definitely films brought me to wanting to do stuff in 3D. I got one from Joseph. Very cool book covers. Have you read those books? I haven't read the books, which is very bad on me, because I've actually created 3 book covers without even reading the books, which is not great, I admit, but I've just been so busy with other things, I just haven't had time to sit down and read, unfortunately. I get very little time to myself, with working in a studio and then working on these time-lapse videos and also doing some freelance stuff. So at some point I'm going to read a book. I want to get back into reading. I do like reading, and apparently those are very good books to read. So cool. Let's grab a quick drink. Okay, so I think we are about ready to take this model to the next step. The next step being, we're going to Z-remesh it and then project the detail of our high poly model onto our low poly model. And I do this a lot, but you don't see it in the time-lapse videos. I do this a lot off screen because it just takes forever and it's kind of boring to watch. So I tend to just keep that off screen. But because we're doing this live, let's see if we can do it without ZBrush crashing, because that's also another factor I have to take into account, is that ZBrush likes to crash when doing the retopoing or the projection sometimes. Doesn't always, but it can do. So I'm just going to quickly save this shot. Just in case it does crash, we can just come back to it. And I tend to save the tool rather than the documents. So that's just something I've always done. You can save the whole document and then have the whole history at the top here to work from. But I normally just save the tool, because you can just open it up and continue sculpting from that. So I'm going to duplicate this model. I'm going to turn everything off so that I only have this in front of me. And what I want to do, now you can do this a couple of ways. You can either polygroup the model to help Z-remesh to find the sort of flow of your topology that you want to Z-remesh, or you can use a brush called ZRemesh Guide, which is just at the bottom here. And essentially what this does is you just come in here and you'll just draw out some lines to represent the kind of flow you want your character's topology to go through. Sorry. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but it's going to help ZRemesh figure out what's going on. So if you know anything about flow when it comes to character design, you should know that circles for the eyes and around the mouth area, the nose, anything else can be as long as it flows in the right direction, it should be fine. And again, we're not going to be doing like high fidelity animations or anything like that. This is just a pure concept, so it doesn't really matter too much. I could literally just come in here for ZBrush and just press ZBrush without the lines, but I normally try to keep the lines nice and clean. So I'm just going to turn Dynamesh off here, come down to ZBrush and turn this up to 10%, and hit ZBrush. And just going to give it a few minutes to do this job. Yeah, saying Zachary, Joseph just saying, yeah, same here. The books are just coming to the shelf, just about unable to find time for them. Yeah. So never enough time in the day to do anything. So you can see ZBrush does a really good job with retopoing. And it gets better every time they update ZBrush. Of course, we're using 2022, so it's kind of stuck in Pixelogic's last version of ZBrush. But if you went up to 2025 or 2024, you'll probably find that it's got even better. But for what we needed to do, it's perfectly fine. And industry still uses 2022 license because they're very comfortable with it. It's also cost effective because they don't want to fork out, I guess, for Pixelogic's Maxim's licenses. So I guess that's how they keep the costs down for that. So when you work in a studio, you'll probably find that you'll be using ZBrush 2022 still. If you get 2025 or 2024, great. It's a great program. I don't bash it at all. I've even done tests on it when they first started, and I love it. But it's just a cost-effective cost thing, really, for me. So if the price was cheaper, I would jump back on it. But unfortunately, it's not. So once we have our low poly model, which is this, and you can see how those lines have tried to keep topology from going a certain way, which is the way we want it to go. Not perfect, but it'll do. We can then start to project the detail from the high poly to the low poly. And whenever I'm doing this, I like to keep the low poly just underneath the high poly at the very top of the subtool pattern rack. This is just something I do. You don't have to do this, but as long as it's underneath the high poly, it'll know where to project. And also make sure everything else is turned off, otherwise you're going to project those pieces as well. Before we go on, got a question here. Oh, hold on. From Celestials. I hope that's right. Celestials. How do you see your future career in 3D industry with all that AI? To be honest, it makes me anxious. Yeah, I get anxious too. I think AI is going to, at some point, eventually take over 3D artists. It's doing a pretty good job at it as it is right now. But I think there's always going to be room for an actual artist to put input into either the AI program or to clean up the models that the AI spits out, because I don't know if it's always going to be perfect models. It could need just a little bit of help. So, and there's a lot of talks about if it's ethical to use AI because of the artwork it's using to create stuff. I mean, we're using AI. These images down here are AI images, but we're using it as a reference point rather than drawing one out, because my drawing's horrendous. But I found these on Pinterest, so that's why I'm using these ones here, because they're just quick to find. But if I wanted to, I'd have to draw it all out. If you use it as a reference point, like I do, I don't see I don't see it as a problem with referencing, even though you're going to put a lot of concept artists out of business, which is not what you want to do either, because we need concept artists as much as they need, as much as they need to stay in work as well. So it's difficult. I am slightly worried in the future, maybe that things will start to shift because they're creating things too fast, I believe. And if you ever went on YouTube or the internet, there's that video on YouTube where they show where 3D peaked at its best, and it was, some people say it was the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Davy Jones, the CGI character in that. They say that that's where CGI peaked, and ever since then it's just been getting worse and worse. It's not because CGI has been getting worse, like the creation of it. It's because it's not spent enough time to get it looking good or to work properly. Most films these days are spat out really quickly, and that actually is a detriment to the industry and to the artists, because we have to work 10 times faster. And then they throw AI on top of that, which will do your work 10 times faster, and they still expect you to do it 10 times faster. So it's going to be a very messy couple of years in the future. Well, it's going to be in the future. It's going to be a very messy future for artists. But I think there's always going to be a place for CGI artists. We just need to kind of adapt to AI. If they start using it more, you'll just have to slightly adapt to it, I guess. But there's always going to be a place for an artist. I don't see them getting rid of artists completely. Hope that's helped. I'm not the greatest motivational speaker. Cool. So I'm just going to project this detail now onto our creature. So we need to make sure that we are selecting the low poly model, and that's why I have the wireframe turned on, so that I can see the wireframe, and it's the low poly. And I'm just going to come down here to project, and normally these settings down here are perfectly fine for what we want to do. We don't have to touch anything. You might just want to turn color off, because you don't need color, just need geometry. And just going to hit project. And before I go any further, I'm going to just show you what I do when I'm doing projecting. So a lot of people will think you have to subdivide a lot and then project. You can do that, but you're going to get a lot of messiness later on. The best way to project in ZBrush, the way I do it, is to subdivide, then project, then subdivide, then project, and go up in incremental stages rather than doing it all at once. It just keeps the model tight to the projection, and also helps stop any messiness with topology coming up. Because every time you subdivide, your model's actually shrinking, right? So it's shrinking more and more every time you subdivide. So if you subdivide, then project, it pulls that geometry back out, and then you subdivide and project, subdivide, project. That's why I do it this way. So I'm going to hit Control D on the keyboard, because that's the subdivision button. So if you hit Control D, you're going to subdivide, and just going to project again, subdivide. You can see it, even now you can see it. So if you come in close, right, just pay attention to this area here. When I hit subdivide, it shrinks it. You see? It shrinks it. So just bear that in mind whenever you're doing the projecting, to do it incrementally rather than just all at once, because it just pulls it back up to where it should be. You hit subdivide again. Project. We're at 1 million polygons at the moment, and for a model that's this sort of size, 1 million polygons might be enough. I tend to, this is just personal preference, I tend to go a little higher. I tend to go one more higher, depending on your machine. Subdivision level 5 is normally where I go to, but depending on your machine, you might be able to get away with it, you might not be able to get away with it. And the last projection is going to take a lot longer, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat now and I can answer it. So it's going to take a while to do this. It might look like it's frozen, but that's just stopping. It's just stopping anything that's going on the screen until it's done, because it's a very laborious task for a computer, or for my computer. It shouldn't take too long. There we are. Cool. So it is now done, and we now have a model with 5.83 million polygons. And we just unhide it. You can see it's done a pretty good job. Don't worry too much about the pixelation. That's just the projection from the high res model we sculpted in Dynamesh. So we could just come in here with a smooth brush and just quickly smooth out those areas a little bit. Very light taps when you're doing this, because we still want to keep that sort of surface detailing that we had. There we are. Now, I like to keep the Dynamesh version, this one, in the scene, because you never know if you're going to need to extrude stuff or insert stuff. Then you have a model that hasn't got subdivision levels available to do that, because for some reason you can't insert a mesh with subdivision levels. So it's good to have the Dynamesh version in the scene just in case you need it. Just going to turn these layers on again. There we are. Cool. Smooth this out a bit. Because this is the final sort of model that we're going to be using, we can actually do a little bit more smoothing than before. And now I'm just going to come in with a clay brush. And I'm just going to start adding some volume to the skin. Kind of like fatty deposits on the skin. Yeah. It also gives it a little bit of weight as well. There we are. So last Thursday, I believe it was, I showed a member's model and helped build it in real time, and sort of give some helpful hints on how to work on the creature. If you have a portfolio or a model that you'd like me to take a look at, and you don't mind it being live on stream, then you can, if you remember, send me your model, or if you want me to share your portfolio and just talk you through the portfolios that you have. If you are looking to get into the industry and need some helpful advice, then just let me know. I'm just going to go around this model with the clay brush, and I'm just adding a few weighty deposits of skin or mass to the model. I'm not too bothered about what's going on in the back here, because when we do the render, it's going to go from the front. It's not going to go from the back. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. If I was to make this a 3D printable model, I would come back to it and fix it up. But for time's sake, we're just going to add a little bit of detail in here. Here we are. Cool. So, got a question here from Joseph. He's asking, what is your most favorite video game? That's a difficult one, because I've got a few. They kind of spread out for whole my life. I think the first one that I really liked was the Crash Bandicoot. I think it was Crash Bandicoot 2. That was the first one I ever played on my own console, PlayStation 1. That was the first game that I enjoyed playing. And then the Tekken 3, I think it was, first fighter game I played. Then there was, I want to say Mortal Kombat, but I was way too young to play Mortal Kombat, or my parents didn't want to get it for me. And that was in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s. Yeah, the 90s. And the 90s was a bit weird because they kind of had like this hatred towards video games, especially the Mortal Kombat game. The government and people, who weren't into video games, the adults of the time, they kind of spurred the idea of Mortal Kombat. It was a massive thing. It even got Netflix shows about it, and how they thought it was going to make people radical killers or whatever. And I was just thinking that's a little bit strange, because I didn't see it myself. It was just purely a video game. But because of that sort of era that that I lived in when I was a kid, we weren't allowed to have Mortal Kombat, so we had to go to a shop in town and play it there. And I can remember just this TV, like this small, what was it, 12, 13, 14-inch TV up in the those ones with the massive backs on them, old school TVs, and it was up high so that kids couldn't touch it. And there was 2 control wires that came out of this console. Can't remember what console it was, but 2 control wires that came out of the console, and people would just stand there for hours just waiting to play a game of Mortal Kombat, because it was such a taboo thing. So yeah, I like Mortal Kombat. I wish I had the game, but I never got into it. I like the idea of it. And then there's the most recent ones I like would be the Fallout 4. I think Fallout 4 was great. I did play Fallout 3 as well, so don't get me on that. I know there's a lot of people don't like Fallout 4. I like it because it's a bit more colorful. It's got more creature design, and it's a bit more polished than Fallout 3. But Fallout 3 still has great gameplay. Don't get me wrong. But I just like the Fallout 4 for the music and the sort of wasteland, and it's just an amazing creation of game. or a game. And then there's also the Harry Potter game that recently came out. Was it? I can't remember what it was called. The Wizard one. Yeah, that was a really good game. I like that a lot. I recently just finished it, and I think I've played about something like 42 hours on that game. Not all in once. I played it, in my spare time. But yeah, I could lose myself in that game. But I'm a very big Harry Potter fan, so that doesn't help. I'm just cleaning up the shoulder area a bit more. I wasn't quite feeling that. Hogwarts Legacy, that's the one. Thank you, Joseph. Yes, Hogwarts Legacy. And then there's other ones. I like the what is those the Man from Medan and Little Hope. Those games, I can't remember what they're called, but they're not video games per se. They're more like a walking quest. So you walk the characters through and you try to get them to the end without dying. As I get older, I'm not very good with the reflexes like I used to be. I used to be great at Call of Duty and Battlefield, but I can't play those things anymore. They frustrate me. I think I've been out of it for too long. And then there's this the game of ZBrush that I call basically create your own monsters and creations, which is always fun. I get more enjoyment out of doing this than I do playing a game for 5 hours or 6 hours. So just using Dam Standard now just to bring back some of those lines. Now down the center here, it's very symmetrical. So I'm just going to turn off symmetry for now and stagger these parts here in the middle. Oh, doesn't look great, but we'll fix that. Got one here from just TH Studio saying, I'm a big fan of Neil Blomkamp films. He's a South Africa too. I really like to see more movies from him. Yes, definitely. I want to see District. I think it was it District. What was the first one? District 12 or 13. I think they're in the making of District 14. I want to see him do the. There was a version of Alien, I believe, that he was going to make, and it was going to be set where the humans have actually domesticated the aliens to become the weapons that they wanted to be. So you see at the beginning, there's some concepts sort of work out there. I'll try and find it actually. A second. Yeah, here we go. I'll just, whoops, move this here, move that out of the way. So you can see here, we got these aliens from concept art for Alien 5, where it would have been Blomkamp's sequel. And you can see how they've domesticated them, and they're actually using them for what they were supposed to be, and not something that just disappeared, got out and escaped and started killing people. I would have loved to have seen a film where we see these things in the military action, District 9, yeah. But yeah, I'd love to have seen that. But I don't think we're ever going to get that, unfortunately. But the Alien Romulus was good. So yeah, I would have, yeah. I still think Alien Romulus was quite good. They could have pushed it a little bit more, but I think what they did was they did something really good. They kept it very small, and sometimes a movie doesn't need to have a massive universe. Sometimes you just need to have a movie that is very small and contained story with just the right amount of horror and everything like that. Because some of these films, like especially in the Alien and Predator universe, they just keep getting them wrong, I believe. I think the Alien universe no, sorry, the Predator universe really suffered for that, and also the Alien versus Predator universe really suffered. They could have done something really good, but it was more slapstick comedy rather than serious. Um, they've tried to pull it back a little bit with the new Predator film, the Prey film, but it doesn't quite hit home for me yet. It's going to take some time. I think they want to make another version of that as well and set it a little bit further in the future. And I think what would be really cool, and I think there's a what do you call them? A fan made film of Predator when he's in the sort of Knights era, the Knights Crusade era. And I think that would be quite cool to see, these knights walking through a forest, sort of on their way home from a battle abroad, and then all of a sudden they're set on by a predator. That would be quite cool. And then they have to kind of fight their way through it. Uh, yep. Joseph J. It's just saying, yeah, Alien Romulus has a nostalgic atmosphere. I felt like I'm a kid again when I watched it. It was great. Yes. And did you see the little alien isolation hints they gave as well? So there's a lot of parts like the saving system in Alien Isolation. Well, they have that in Alien Romulus, where there's phones that they pick up and they talk through, or they're standing next to, and if you blink, you'll miss it. But it seems like every time they get to a point in the film where they are going to encounter another alien or do something to the next step in their journey, there's an actual phone in the background, which kind of hints towards a save system. I think that was quite funny. Just gonna build some of this tension in the middle here. Now, I'm not gonna be like one of those artists that you see that can get all that fine details and stuff into the muscles and stuff like that. That's all very well and good to be able to do that, and I could do a video on that sort of thing if you want me to. But for a conceptual piece, you don't need to be too crisp and clean and highly detailed, as long as you can convey the kind of character you want from your sculpt. Because a lot of the stuff you're going to be doing in Photoshop as well, like sort of paint overs and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about getting all the little details. Although the more details you put in, the better your concept will be. So it's a fine line, depending on the time period that you have to do this, and if you can as well. I'm just going to sort of zoom in on these eyes a bit. I want to try and find one with, there we go, some bags under his eyes. I'm just going to use a dam standard. I'll use a dam standard kind of like a pen, sort of like a pencil, sorry. I'll start to just pencil in wrinkles here and there and detail using it like this. And I'm just going to pull out that top eyelid, pushing it in. And I mean, you could get lost for days, sitting here trying to get all these wrinkles just perfect. But it all depends on the time you have as well. Now, there's another brush I like to use, which is just the normal standard brush. This is great for pulling out the wrinkles or adding form to it, but in a very soft way. It's not so harsh as the clay build-up brush. I'm just going to solo this quick and just have a look at what's going on in these eyes sockets. Grab the clay buildup and just make that tear duct stand out a bit more. And when it comes to eyelids, there's actually a bit of thickness to eyelids. So it's not it's not flush against the eyeball. There is a bit of depth to the eyelids, and not as much as this, but we can exaggerate a little bit because it's a creature. We can do a little bit of exaggeration, I guess. Just remember that there is a bit of depth to your eyeballs, or to the eyeballs, so eyelids, sorry. And I'm just going to, using the standard brush, just pull this skin down on here. Grab the dam standard. Define that a bit more. We're doing for time 59 minutes. It's not bad. Going to pull these wrinkles, add some lines for the wrinkles. Get some of that detail back that we lost from smoothing. There we are. Now for the center of this nose, I'm going to keep it as it is for now because we're going to do some asymmetry sculpting down the middle of this face, because otherwise it's going to look very boring and very bland. And you can add some more character to it if you have asymmetry on. So we'll just leave that for now. You can see we've got all these lines. If we just solo this quick, got all these lines going down the mouth area here, these wrinkles on the mouth, on the top lip. So you can do the same thing. Just pencil in very lightly, and then come in with the clay brush. Just fill it in. Kind of like Thanos, you know, how Thanos has those lines on his skin. You can do the same thing here with the lines on the top. It's also adding some weight to these areas. Using the clay brush. And I'm just going to fill in that sort of cliff in the middle there a bit. Grab the move brush. I'm just going to move this out. Another good thing to do, well, that I usually do when I get to this point where I'm doing the detailing stage, is I like to switch up the texture or the material. I'll just move this out of the way quick. So right now I'm just using this startup material, which is called the matte cap gray, but I'll actually switch it once I get to the detailing stage to a basic material. And this does two things. It helps to refresh your eyes to see what you're doing with your model, and it also helps with the texturing, I'd say, like the sculpting texturing, because you get nice dark shadows in here so you can really see what's going on. And it's an overall nicer sort of material to work with. You don't have to do it, but I tend to do that once I get to this sort of detailing stage. It just helps. Right. Is there any other questions you guys have? Don't be shy. Got one here from Joseph again. Damn thing. Will you do more Marvel characters in the future? That's a tough one, because a lot of Marvel characters have sort of... Yeah, I mean, I could do more Marvel characters in the future. I've got to find time to do it. You see, the only reason I didn't do it last year was because last year I did a video a week, time-lapse video a week, and that meant having to come up with a creature or character every week so that I could get it up on YouTube, and so I could have something on there for Mondays, every Monday. With this year, because I'm doing live streams, more live streams than time-lapse videos, I'll have 2 weeks rather than just 1 week to do a sort of time-lapse video for a creature or character. And that's going to give me a bit more time to sit down and relax and enjoy the process as well. But I still need to also sort of edit the videos together and all that sort of stuff, because I do that all by myself. I do all the video editing, the sculpting, the marketing, the publishing, everything you see, I do by myself. So it's a lot of work to do, but it's enjoyable. Dave Newhouse says, Man Thing. What is Man Thing? I'm gonna have to look that up. 1 second. Is that a Marvel character? Oh, Jesus. That is weird. I just shared this. Man Thing. I've never seen this character before. That's a lot of work. That is a heck of a lot of work. It's not impossible. It's just a lot of work. Maybe. If I can do it. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I kind of want to, on Thursdays, I want to also do more of this sort of stuff. But if you have any suggestions, thank you, Dave. If you have any suggestions on the kind of concepts you want to see sculpted, either full character or bust, just so you guys can get an idea of how to do it. It will take longer because the live streams are going to be roughly an hour each. So it will take longer to get through. Plus Thursdays, we take chats, we take questions, we talk. Well, I talk a bit more about views and stuff like that. So it's going to take a little longer to get through. But if you have an idea of a sort of creature or character you want me to do, then leave it in a chat or message directly through Instagram or anything like that, really. But yeah, this one's taken longer than I thought, but I think it's a good thing, because when you start rushing stuff is when you start making mistakes. So, and I want to make these look as good as I can for you guys, so I don't want to rush it too much. And hopefully you guys can take away a few helpful tips for your own projects. Yeah. I'm also really interested in what sort of projects you guys are working on as well. If you want to sort of share them or have me share them, I could do that through these live streams. Leave that little piece. Just gonna fill in this dimple underneath here a bit. What's the time? 1 hour 8. Cool. If you guys have any, still working on Azog. Joseph, you're still working on Azog. That's good. I hope that was helpful last week when I showed you some of the techniques to get him to look a bit more fleshed out. But yeah, if you if you want me to do another recap after you've finished, then just let me know and I'll see what I can do. But yeah, so if you guys have any more questions, take about 15 minutes at the end here just to take some more questions about anything. I'm going to try and leave. I think I'm going to leave it here for now. I don't want to rush it, as I said. It's going to be a labor of love. So let's do this the right way, and yeah, we'll do this the right way, I think. I'd really like to actually take this one, if I can, at some point, take this one into Substance, right? Once we finish the concept, take it into Substance and maybe work on it in Substance and show you how I do that sort of stuff in Substance, like texturing in Substance. Cool. So I think I'm going to leave it there. It's been a very sort of small sort of work on this concept, but as I keep saying, it's going to take as long as it's going to take, and it's going to look really good when we're finished with it. I'm not in a rush to get this one done. If you want to see me do a different model, like start a different model or anything like that, then please let me know, and maybe one Thursday we'll take a break from this concept and do a different one and see how far we get with that in one session. Or if you want me to do other things, just let me know as well. I got one here from Glenn Travis. He says, whoops, sorry Glenn, how do I subscribe to watch content? You should be able to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe through there. There's also a link in the description box below. I believe that link works. If you tap on that, you can become a member. I've got one here from Dave Newhouse. I posed a creature too soon and didn't save the symmetrical version. Should I just mirror it and try to fix it, as I want to carry on sculpting it? I'll tell you what, you send me, if you can, send me a screenshot of your ZBrush, or yeah, and I'll see. If you go into, if you get your model back to a symmetrical pose, sorry, the next time you do it or try to pose it, you can come over here to the Z plugin. I'm sure you know how to do this. Come down to Transpose Master, and I always do this when I pose, because I know that at some point I want to take it back to the T-pose anyway. So before you hit T-pose mesh, make sure you turn layer on, because this will just create a new layer where everything's going to be put into that you do inside the T-pose mesh or the Transpose Master section. And this just helps you to save your model before you do anything like pose it. It kind of works the same way as Photoshop. So if you come over to the side here, there's this thing called layers. If you put a layer in here, like I just did, and I grab the clay build-up brush, say, and I do all of this, right? It's actually recording every single stroke you do inside of layers here. And once I turn the recording off, so you tap on the button which says records off, you can then turn it on and off, and you can see it's all on one layer. And the best thing about it is you can turn it down using a slider. It's the amount of sort of it's kind of like the opacity, but it works with 3D. So you sort of bring it back down. You can even go into the minuses with it as well. It'll just push it into the model. So it's a really good thing to have and to use when you're sculpting or when you're posing. And if you don't want to keep it, you could just delete it, and it won't affect your model. But I would try to use layers when you come over to the Z plugin, Transpose Master. Just make sure your layers is turned on. And we'll be doing that anyway for this concept later on. Got one here from Glenn Travis. Watch on Xbox, it won't let you do that, but Thanks, man. I'll do it on my. Yeah, unfortunately, you're gonna have to probably do it on the computer. But that's great that you're watching on the Xbox. I mean, I didn't think it was that entertaining, my work. But yeah, that's cool. Thanks for watching it. There's any other questions? Now's the time. I'm just going to take a few minutes now to take some questions. So before I end the stream. Before I end the stream, I'll just tell you what we're going to do next time. So the next time we work in Thursday, we're just going to continue on sculpting this character. We're going to, as we did with the top, we're going to start around the head area and then just work our way around the body. As we get around to this section down here for the concept, as this section, we might start to do less work because I want to focus on the head mostly. So most of the rest of the stuff here probably won't get as much of the attention that it needs, but that's only because we're doing the concept. If we would take this into like a 3D printable miniature, then we'd probably want to get all the details on everything looking really nice. So, but because it's just a concept piece, we're just going to focus mainly on this area here and maybe just down the neck a little bit, but anything under here probably won't get seen. So we'll just keep that as it is. Okay, just all this here. Just gonna move that there. Quite a thick neck. Cool. All right, so before I go, I'm just going to do some shameful plugging again. So give me 1 second. Cool. So if you haven't already, you can become a YouTube member, and that will give you access to past live streams, as you see on the ticker tape down below there. It gives you access to past live streams and the very long live streams that I'm going to be putting up every other week of my past creations. Now, I did a test on Tuesday, the 12-hour live stream, and it worked great. It was great. It was really good to see people watching it. The only problem I had with it is that in YouTube, it only archives 11 hours 55 minutes. So doing 12-hour live streams of my work, most like the last project just got cut out at the very end. So all the Photoshop was not in that. So for the next one, I'm only going to be doing 2 projects at a time, which will be roughly about 9 to 10 hours of project, live project. It's still going to have the live music. It's still going to have the music and just, easy listening. You could just watch it in the background whilst you're studying or anything like that. But yeah, it's going to be 9 hours instead of 12. And that's every other week on a Tuesday. I have to write this all down. The other thing, next thing is our Patreons. So if you become a Patreon, you'll be able to see future works before anyone else. You'll be able to get more exclusive tutorials. There's a great one coming up in April, I believe. And there's one at the moment where we're doing the dragon bust, which is really cool. But there's a new one starting in April, and it's going to take you step by step through how to sculpt a velociraptor from Jurassic Park. And when I say step by step, I literally mean hold your hand and take you through every single step on how to create a sort of one-to-one or as close as one-to-one basic beginners Velociraptor Jurassic Park version. It's taken me a long time to do that video or that tutorial, so I hope you guys sign up for that. And then there's going to be more tutorials later on after that one as well. And yeah, so I'm just going to hide that one. Then the last thing is my online stores. So if you haven't already, you can go check out my online stores. There's over 300 5-star reviews just on ArtStation alone, and that's not including Flip Normals, Gumroad, or ZBrush. So there's probably there's a lot of good reviews for the work that I've done. There's a lot of brushes, models from past time-lapse videos. You can find them there. You can use them as your base mesh, and you can take them further. If you're doing a project, you can take them further, or if you're just learning, you can sort of rotate around them. They're not pricey. I try to keep it quite low price because times are difficult these days, and people don't have money that much, so it's hard, and I understand that. So yeah, but if you want to skip the high poly sculpting, but you really want to learn topology or skinning or anything like that, those are great models to have as a base. You can learn to retopo it by yourself, or watch videos on how to retopo and have a base, a high poly model available, and take that through to finish. And yeah, it's just a time saver basically. And I'm just going to turn that off. Got 2 comments here. Got one from Glenn Travis saying, I wish you would do an iPad ZBrush sculpt. Yeah, I don't have the 2025 version of ZBrush, unfortunately. I gave up the subscription for that because it was too costly. I don't have the money to buy it. At some point, maybe in the future. But yeah, I mean, doing it on an iPad, doing it on a Wacom, doing it on a tablet, it's all the same thing. I guess. Depending on how much Nomad is, I might buy Nomad and test that out on an iPad, but I'd have to first look into it. And I'm very busy at the moment, unfortunately. So, lastly, before I end this live stream, I just want to say thank you to all my channel members, and here they are. Whoops. Just turn off that. So for my YouTube members, you got Joseph Bunkowski, I hope that's right. Hitze Kracht, the Cool Beans podcast, and we got 3 new ones: Matteo, Selek, Jace, Bergion, and Art Zay. I hope I mentioned those right. I do apologize if I got them wrong. And for my Patreons, I just want to thank all my Patreons here as well. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through tier 3, the tier 3 version. So that's Aaron Todman, Ganesh, Robert Ackerman, and Erwin Vandermine. I'd like to thank them for becoming tier 3 patrons, and also all my other patrons as well. Thank you very much. So join me on Monday, where we're going to... Oops, I got one more comment. Let me just have a look. Yeah, okay. iPad's a lot cheaper. So join me on Monday, where we're going to continue working on the dragon tutorial, and that's going to be the hind legs of the dragon. We're going to go and we're going to get that through the blockout stage, sculpting stage of that. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Take care. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more exclusive content and want to support my work further, then please check out my Patreon page at MLW_creative for more. Also, view past live streams you might have missed in Tier 3 tutorial support, where I will be archiving future streams moving forward. If you are interested in other full-length tutorials, brushes, and models, then check out my online stores for more useful content. I would also like to thank all my subscribers and patrons for supporting me for this long. Again, thanks for watching and stay safe.